We're working on a mass notification system. We recognize that there are certain events where we have very little time to get messages out to the public. And last night was another example of that, where we had probably less than half an hour. We got the message from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center at 10:07 p.m. And effectively, the wave was set to arrive just before 10:30 p.m. So that's less than 25 minutes. So we've been working government off-reg, 911, emergency communications, the telecoms, some of the media houses, at putting in place a mass notification system where people will get the messages to their handsets. We recognize that there are situations where realistically there probably isn't time to get the message to the public without such a solution in place. Government's job is to, as a public safety role is vitally important. It's probably one of our most important roles. We do have mechanisms in place, Joint Communications Service. We did try to get messages out to the public. We put out Facebook messages, Twitter. We put messages out on our website. We talked to people in the media. There are limitations, even though in terms of operators in the studios and the radio stations in Cayman at night. I mean, there's very few people actually manning the studios. The television's not able to put up messages immediately. It takes them time too. So we got our messages out within 40 minutes, 45 minutes. That probably isn't quick enough, and we're going to work on making that happen quicker, and hopefully once we have the mass notification system in place as well, that's going to take care of a lot of that issue. But I think the anxiety is reasonable, and we do struggle at nights and at weekends sometimes when it's not easy to get messages out to the public. But I would encourage people to sign on to our Facebook and Twitter pages, because we're able to get messages to you quite quickly like that. And I know some people might even think maybe something like a coastal siren system would be a good solution. But we've seen in other places in the Caribbean that they end up costing quite a lot of money, millions of dollars. We live in a very salt-prone environment, and they require a lot of maintenance, a lot of people working on them, and so they can end up costing a lot of money and not working. So we believe the solution with a mass notification system is the way forward.
The sensor was supplied by UNESCO and as part of the Caribbean Tsunami Warning System. And that was put in a couple of years ago, and it monitors and sends to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which will say a tsunami has hit the Cayman Islands. It may seem useless to us, but it's all the other sensors in the Caribbean on the other islands that are useful to us. The first phase will be to do radio interrupt, which will interrupt the broadcast radio stations. We'll start with Radio Cayman and then implement the other stations. So a message will be able to be sent from the 911 center or from hazard management of something impending that we think is very important to get out to the public. It's especially useful when the radio stations run manned at night, etc. The second one will be text messaging across, or crawling messages across the TV channels, which should work for cable and the local broadcast stations. It will not work for satellite, but it'll be something like you see on the US, where they put a message across. The final stage will be messaging to your telephones. It won't be like SMS. It will be a hit every phone at once, including cruise ship passengers, about anything major that's happening. That one's a fairly expensive option and is down the road. We're negotiating with the regulator, or the regulator's negotiating with the service providers on our behalf. The radio interrupt, which is phase one, has been ordered. We hope to have that in 4 to 6 weeks and have that installed. There is a tsunami exercise, a Caribbean-wide one, on March the 17th. We would like to have at least Radio Cayman on board for that one, and then we'll move out to the other radio stations.
I mean, this is not something government can do on their own. I think people are thinking, why isn't government getting it done? I mean, this costs money. There's got to be budget allocations for people like Digicel and Lime and some of the media houses. We don't want to strong arm or force private companies into doing things. It's a negotiated solution, and we've also got to make sure that we have the right technology in place that it's not going to be redundant in 4 or 5 years. We want to have a world-class system that can deliver results for the public and be counted on when we need it to keep people safe. Not just for tsunamis or earthquakes, or it could be for missing persons, it could be for toxic spills, or there could be many transportation accidents. There could be many different uses for it. And we think it's an important tool, and it's in our legislation as well. It's been approved by Cabinet, and it's coming. It just takes a bit of time, and we need the public to be a bit patient. And we realize when these situations do occur, as we saw with the Seoul fire, people get understandably anxious and concerned. And we're not giving up. We're going to get it in place, and it's just going to take a bit of time.
I mean, public education is a really key factor for us at hazard management. In preparedness and planning, we need to make sure the public are ready for any eventuality, be it a hurricane, which is what we usually focus on. But obviously, we've seen last night, and we've known that tsunamis are a possibility. With all our presentations that we do in schools, in other government entities, and in private sector, we make sure that we cover tsunamis as well as a possibility. And we're really encouraging the public to reach out to us so we can actually do more of these. We do drills at the schools, so we do tsunami drills at the schools. We're also trying to make sure we improve our notification system with the schools, because obviously the schools are, if something does happen during the daytime, the schools are a real issue. We'll have parents going to schools, and of course we need to make sure that doesn't happen. We need to make sure that our response is very well coordinated and everyone knows how to react in a disaster. Well, it can be a very short period of notification and then activation. What do you do as members of the public? I think it's really important, one, that the family have a very good plan in place for every eventuality. Again, it's not just hurricanes. We do see tsunamis. We have house fires. We strongly recommend that family planning does happen for emergencies, and we're very happy to help coordinate with this. We were doing school programs last year with the families, as in with the kids and the parents, to make sure that these plans are in place, that phone numbers are there, we know what to do in any case anything happens. So we strongly encourage members of the public to contact us, and we can come and do presentations further. But also we have a lot of information about tsunamis and other things on our website at www.caymanprepared.ky. And again, we're really happy to talk to you further about what we can do to help you make sure that you're prepared and ready for every eventuality.
And I know, like you said, the time frames can be different, but what can a person do? I know earlier we were saying in and up, so kind of explain that in a short sentence, kind of what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, again, tsunamis are generally generated by earthquakes, so of course, a lot of people will feel the shudder to begin with. I know on social media last night there were several reports of people feeling a shudder. If you feel that, make sure you take action straight away. You go inside, as far inland as possible, and get up high as possible. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people on the coastline in Cayman, and we make sure they have to have perhaps be more vigilant to make sure their preparations are in place if a tsunami does happen. And again, it could be in the middle of the night. They might not get the warning that they need. But we're really, really encouraging every member of the Cayman public to be ready for any eventuality that might happen in the event of tsunami, an earthquake, a fire, or so forth. But again, in and up. We really focus on going inside, in Cayman, as far as you can get in, but up, go high as possible. You hear it on the radio and you're out at sea, that you make sure you don't go back inland straight away, you head out, because the tsunami is not one single wave, it's a series of waves. So you have the first wave come through, and then of course you're not just dealing with waves there, you're dealing with a lot of debris and so forth. So if you are on a boat, we strongly recommend you to stay out at sea, and then until the Port Authority and the relevant authorities, Hazard Management 911, notify you it's safe to come in, stay out there and make sure you keep very, very in tune with things. As you know, last year we did this tsunami exercise, and you have obviously this notification system that we sent the text out. We were trying to make sure that everyone received those texts, but there were some quite significant difficulties with that. Some people were receiving the text at certain times, others at different times. So it's not the ideal method. So we really do need to make sure that what we're doing now is the correct way and the most effective, so everyone in Cayman is notified, be it a long-term event or a sudden onset like we saw last night. The community emergency response teams, which we have around the island, so West Bay, North Sound Gardens, North Side, Bond Town we're looking into now, Windsor Park and so forth, play a crucial role in our response, and they really do provide information from the field to the NEOC, the National Emergency Operations Centre. Whilst we didn't have full activation of the centre last night, the CERTs do play a role. So we are looking at ways to make sure, again, if this happens again, how we can get that information out to the CERTs they can disseminate it further. We've done a big WhatsApp group for CERT team leaders. We're also part of certain communities already, like the Prospect Community Group and the North Sound Gardens. And that is a really key way, again, getting that information to the communities firsthand by the team leaders, by people they trust. You know, we've already verified the information. We're also trying to set up WhatsApp groups, and we've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. We're also working through VARs, which is Voluntary Agency Responders, and that consists of Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions, ADRA, you know, key service clubs around Cayman who, again, can help disseminate that information out. So again, if this kind of sudden onset event happens again, which of course it will do, we want to make sure that our communication can go very fluidly through these groups, through these WhatsApp groups, as well as, you know, Facebook pages and so forth, just to make sure that word is out there and they can help us with that dissemination.